Det är för bedrövligt. Usch!
Vem fan är du?
Hello, I'm Scott Hamilton, ROCKFILE. Find me at therockfile.com and on various podcasting services. This will be my first music review podcast. As I said in my introduction, I am a lifelong music addict and radio professional. When I get new albums, I like to dig into them, read the lyrics, listen to them multiple times, not just with my radio ears on to decide whether or not songs need to be played on the radio, but I'm a big fan of albums. And so the format of these reviews will be a little bit different than the movie reviews because I can play music clips within the review so you can check it out for yourself. I won't do long stretches of music. I think that's kind of dull and kind of defeats the purpose. But some things to highlight what I'm talking about. And the first review will be the new Opeth album, Cauda, Venenum. I believe I said that correctly. It is their 13th album. I'm a huge fan of the band. I've actually met them a couple times and interviewed Frederick. Matter of fact, that interview is on the podcast you're probably listening to now if you want to scroll down. It was a few years ago on their tour bus, but it was a great interview. Had a lot of fun time. Also spent some time with Michael that day and talked about growling and stuff because he was already getting out of that. Over this past weekend, there was an interview with Michael from Opeth who said that he's moved on and you need to too. It's been 8 years since he put a growl or a scream on an album. They've done 4 albums since. They've kind of make this turn into not just progressive metal, but now into just full progressive rock. And I, for one, am glad because I think they had kind of, and he even thinks, they kind of ran its course with what they could do with the screams and stuff. And now he's investigating more things like string arrangements and dynamics within the music. And I gotta say, this is an incredible album. Whether you download it or buy it off Amazon or wherever you get music, you can get both versions, the Swedish and the English version. Now, the band recorded the album with Swedish vocals first. He recorded in Stockholm. That's where they're from. And it flows very naturally. I think the English is also very well done, but I'm actually gravitating to listen to the Swedish. The lyrics in the book are in both. So if you speak Swedish, you're in luck. If you don't, like me, then it's just more, gobbledygook. But both versions of the album are the same musically. The vocals are produced the same. Like I said, you just won't be understand the vocals on the Swedish version. But wow, what an album from the band. I think they have really... This could be my favorite, not of all time, because I'm a big fan of Damnation. Blackwater Park is an incredible metal album. But of this new journey that they're on, this new progressive journey of the last 4 albums, this is becoming my favorite. I listened to it over and over and over since its release. I can't seem to get enough of it. It starts off with a great track. Garden of Earthly Delights kind of lets you know what you're into. Dignity was one of the songs they released early on, and that kind of carries the whole idea of the album on. Let's check out a snippet of that now. And like any great prog album, that bombastic opening gives way to this nice, light, acoustic, and beautiful section. That track is followed by Heart and Hand, which is another song that's available on YouTube if you want to go check out the whole thing in both Swedish and English. If I have any complaints about the album, maybe too much of the prog tropes. There are some sound clips, there are some sound effects and things like that. I find that on progressive albums, sometimes that can be a detriment down the road, when you've listened to it 100 times or whatever. Pink Floyd's The Wall or Dark Side of the Moon, perfect albums that included some snippets of sound bites and sound effects. But there are other more recent progressive albums where it's done just a little bit too much. And on repeated listenings, you're like, can I get a version without that in it? It crosses your mind. I don't think this album from Opeth is quite to that point. I think the added snippets, the added bits, and the added sound effects actually do integrate themselves well into the music. Not quite as good as Pink Floyd, but then again, come on, it's Pink Floyd. Going to play another snippet for you now. This is about the 6th track on the album, Charlatan. And you kind of get the groovy vibe there. A lot of great music on this album. Could not recommend it higher. If you want to pick up this album, you're an Opeth fan of especially the last 4 albums, there is absolutely no reason not to get this right now. No hesitation whatsoever. I would give it an easy 4.5 out of 5 stars. As far as I'm concerned, it's going to be my new go-to Opeth album. I still love Damnation and Deliverance. Those albums were produced by Steven Wilson, who is by far one of my favorite, probably my favorite musical artist. And it very much is dripping with Steven Wilson isms, lots of Mellotron and things like that. But then the band continued on their path with the screaming and growling metal mixed in with their progressive stuff. And like I said, 4 albums ago, they made a turn. That was 8 years ago. That's a generation, folks. We need to move, as he said over the weekend, we need to move on. But they've really come into their own. This is the quintessential progressive Opeth album. It is their 13th. It's definitely worth picking up. I would not even just stream it. I would buy this thing and put it in your library because you'll be going back to it over and over and over. I really can't tell you. I put it in my car and even the mellow parts, there's some really beautiful stuff, string arrangements and harmony vocals and multi-layered things. And like the recent Tool album, the more you listen to this album, the more you will get out of it. Matter of fact, I need to do a Tool review, don't I? Yeah, I do. So pick up Opeth in Cauda Venenum. It is a brand new album. It just came out last Friday. Pick it up, give it a spin. I guarantee you, if you're a fan of progressive music, you are going to be blown away by how good this album is. It is easily going to be in my top 5 for 2019, probably top 2 so far. I listen to a lot of new music, so at the end of the year, I put out year-end lists of my favorite stuff. I don't call it the best because although I am a musician, I grew up a trumpet player, I can still read music. I'm not a music critic in that way. I'm not going to tell you that this was put together the best or it was recorded the best. That's not what I'm about. I listen to music because I love music and I have different moods that music satisfies or takes me to. And this, when I am in the mood for a progressive Opeth album, this will be the one. Loved Sorceress, loved Watershed, loved the more recent stuff, but wow, their 13th album, it's hard to imagine a band's 13th album being one of their best, but it is. Pick up the new Opeth, love it, can't wait for the tour. Whoa. Anyway, I'm Scott Hamilton. I'm ROCKFILE. Check out my website, therockfile.com. You can get these podcasts all over the place. Still waiting on Apple to approve us, but we are definitely on Spotify and some other locations right now. So very much welcome to the world of ROCKFILE, and thank you for listening.